and I am the LA Probate Expert. And today we're going to talk about Get Probate Cash Now, how to use Probate Cash as a tool to help you build your real estate business, whether you're a real estate agent or investor wholesaler, or you're an attorney, or you're a family. These are powerful tools that can be used to help you build your business. And so I appreciate you guys jumping in today with me. We're going to record this, and then we're going to hopefully give you, if you're interested in taking a step further, hey, Gio, I'll give you a chance to do that. I have a coaching program, a mastermind. I'm going to go deep on this with people. I'm going to offer a lot of my personal resources if you're interested in joining in on that as well. So let's just start off with what is Probate Cash? Obviously, if you're in real estate and you're listing houses and you're selling houses, you make money by doing the activity. But there's a specific tool in the process that many of us know about or come across if you work in this space and don't really know a lot about it. And I want to uncover that tool and share with you how you can use it to build your business by helping your customers, your petitioners, your families, your heirs, your attorneys, investors, wholesalers, or agents. You can make some money along the way as well, but more importantly, I think you can get the commissions or the business that you're looking for. So let's dig deep into that. So probate advance inheritance is kind of like a payday loan. It's not a loan, very important. The terminology is something the industry has to avoid, because if it's a loan, there's all kinds of government regulations. So technically, it's an advance of the interest of an heir. So we all have potentially, inheritances coming to us, whether it be from our parents or siblings, or somebody promises money, an aunt, or just, money can just show up because some long lost cousin passed and you're the only relative, or they're the one that you name for whatever reason. And you can sell that interest to somebody in a way that's legally binding. So it's no different, if you go back to the Bible, this was done back with Jacob and Esau, where Esau was the elder son and entitled to certain privileges. In ancient times, when the father would pass, the majority would go to the oldest son and a smaller portion would go to the other sibling, the other sons. And so Esau didn't want the responsibility, and famously in the story, he sold his rights to his firstborn status for a bowl of red beans. And there's a lot there in spiritual, and I don't mean to oversimplify it, but I'm just saying the concept goes back, it's biblical, goes back that far. And so there are people who've sold their rights of heirship through time. Now, some countries don't allow that, and in societies, and some do allow it. But here in the United States, it's basically, by and large, if you are going to be an heir to an estate or property, you can say, you know what, I don't want to go through probate. It's too long, it's too difficult, it's too costly up front. And instead of taking money that's due me, and also in probate, oftentimes the money's not yours until the end of the probate process, a year or two or longer if it's litigated. So there are people who would rather take $10,000 cash today than $20,000 a year or two later. The other thing about these advances, they're expensive in the sense that the rate of the percentage of giving up is high. That for a $10,000 advance, you might typically pay $15,000 or $20,000 of your future inheritance. And that sounds like a lot, and it is. And I think you have to understand that. But by the same token, you might not actually be entitled to it. The company lending the money might find out a month later that your father had other kids, another wife, deeded the property, had liens. And so these are what are called non-recourse. It's an important concept because they're not a loan. That they're not recourse, meaning that if you sell your inheritance of $20,000, let's say, for $10,000, and it turns out the $20,000 isn't yours, the house goes down in value, is foreclosed on, there's lawsuits, for whatever reasons, it never comes to fruition. The advance company loses because they bought your right to the heirship. So it is beneficial to an heir or a beneficiary who doesn't know they're going to get the money or not. None of us know, or how long it will take. They don't know how the litigation will be, and they don't want to be involved with it. They don't want to spend the money or time fighting it. So again, I think at first blush, and I will always think life is always more complicated than it sounds. It's easy to say, oh, these are unfair loans because they target people who are uneducated and the very high interest rates. But at the same token, I've used them effectively to help people who otherwise can't even get the house. They can't refinance it, they can't sell it, they can't improve it, they can't do anything because it's titled in grandma's name. And they don't have the money to go to an attorney. And the attorneys don't want to take on the case and advance the fees in many cases, or they're gonna get a bad attorney. And by getting them some money, we can help them solve the problem. So again, like anything, this can be abused, like the phone, like guns, like cookies. They can be used for good or for bad. And I think as professionals, we have the opportunity to use this tool effectively to serve our customers and ultimately, as a result, to benefit from it. So these are kind of like payday loans or payday advances in that sense. They can be misused, but they're a powerful tool. So number two, how does this work? So what happens is, in my experience, when I'm talking to people, I find somebody who has an inheritance. Maybe it's an investor who was door knocking, found a property, they came to a deal, come to find out that the guy who signed the deal doesn't have title, doesn't have full title. Maybe he has title, but he didn't know this. Father had a prior marriage and he never cleared the title with the ex-wife who's now deceased, or whatever the story is. So there's often cases where people think in good faith that they have clear title and discover in escrow that they don't. And there's also cases where people know they don't have clear title. And the solution to those title problems would be probate. So an investor might say, well, look, all we have to do is probate the case and you'll have clear title. And oftentimes the customer will say, well, I can't afford to do that. And so I've helped investors put up the money for the customer to pay for the legal fees, to get the probate title cleared. Or I've helped the customer get the title cleared so they can sell the property the way they want to. Or the real estate agent get the money in advance. So you find somebody who has an estate, and then you pre-qualify it and make sure they generally have rights that you think they do. Now, there's no way to know that. That's the purpose of the probate process, is to flesh all that out. There's formal legal notices that are filed. And if there's long-lost creditors or long-lost heirs, the goal is to get them notified so they can raise their hand and step in. But we can, just like we do when we work with buyers, lenders can pre-qualify using basic ratios. And so we can look at a property and we can determine how much equity there is. We can determine what the chain of title looks to be. Not we can give legal advice, but we can make business advice. And if it appears as though this person has a clear path to all or a portion of it, then we have a sense, and that's pre-qualifying them. And then all the probate advance company does is takes that a little deeper, interviews the person, and then we'll advance them the funds. Now, so that's the basic process. As you find somebody needs the money, what I do is I pre-qualify the customer before I send them to a vendor. Now, I've actually created a list of 25 different companies that I've identified, and I've personally worked with. I've sent customers who got advances from 4 of those companies, and they're all a little different. I would love to have one. I would love to have one that was a great company that really was a partner in my business. But the reality is, for a variety of reasons, they're not, or not yet. There's one in particular I'm working with, hoping to get them to step up and work with us more. They've offered to promote this product, this service, and we're in discussions, in full disclosure. But today we're not there. And so what I would say is, part of my experience is they don't have the same customer service attitude that I do to my business. Generally, these companies have a clerk or administrator who talks to the customer and pre-qualifies the deal and maybe gives it to the owner or the president or maybe an attorney to sign off on it. And as good as they may be, and I'm not knocking them, but in business, employees are only so good. They're not as good as me. They're not as dedicated as I am to my customers. And more importantly, it's not surprising because I'm looking to make a commission of $10, $20, $50,000 by selling a house, or maybe build a relationship with an attorney and get several listings as a result. And the clerk is getting paid maybe a nice salary, but they're not going to be as good as me. And so what I find is I send the deal to a company and they'll say, "Well, we can't do it." Or they return my phone calls. I called them 3 times. Well, as realtors, how often do you call people to get a listing? You call them until it's the phone, right? I have an attorney I'm chasing down on one deal. I've called them every single day. Now I don't leave messages anymore. I send them an email, send them a text. I call them every single day. I'm hunting this guy down because I want the deal. I'm a hunter. people work for in offices typically aren't. So what I'll say is that the probate advance companies do have a reasonable job of talking to the customer, and they'll either get it to them or not. But the underwriting process is usually done on the phone, and the money can be done within 48 hours. Literally, they'll send out the paperwork to the customer. It has to be notarized, it gets filed with the court, and then they can advance the fees. And so that's the normal process. Now, the third question I would say is, why use me or professional or become a professional rather than work with a company? And the answer is, in my experience in business, companies kind of come and go. Lenders, I have, when I was more of a buyer's focused real estate agent, lenders are really important. And I had this guy for FHA, and this one for maybe VA, and this one for conventional, this one for brokered stuff, hard money. And they would just go in and out of the business. Companies would close, they would move, they would merge, and individual mortgage people would go through life changes. They get married, they would have personal problems, they would make a lot of money and retire, whatever. So I find that the vendors are the same way, but they come and go, and who's good and who's not good. But what I do is I pre-qualify. Now I have a pre-qualified lead. I have all the data. I easily can send it to a company to get them to approve it. And if they can't, I can take it to another one without bothering the customer. And this is an important thing. You don't want the customer to get discouraged. You want to get an answer to them right away. But my experience is these companies approve a certain percentage of their leads. And they're okay with that. Almost all their business is on pay-per-click leads, the equivalent of Zillow, Facebook ads, let's say. So to them, they have a bunch of leads coming in. To me, that's my listing. And I'm going to get it one way or the other. And so what I can't do is just send it to one company, and if they say no, walk away. I have to send it to another. And I've had, and this is what prompted me to get into this, I had cases where I sent to one company, they said no. I sent to another one, they said yes. I sent to one company, and they just wouldn't call me back. They wouldn't give me status. I felt like they're doing me a favor to update me on my own customer, to find out, well, she just never responded. Well, yeah, she's depressed. She's got problems. That's why I'm a real estate agent. And they FedEx everything to her, and she wasn't capable of going to FedEx office and getting it notarized. So I sent her a mobile notary. But geez, for $1 million listing, I'll do that. Right? And I'm just curious on the call, Paul, Gio, anybody else? If you would send a mobile notary to get papers signed so that your client could sign you a highly motivated, well-priced listing, let's say it costs you $150, would you do it? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The probate advance companies, in my experience, they don't do that. They say, well, that's just not really our business. We try to keep our costs down, right? That's the difference. And so when you turn it over to them, and now you're out of the loop, and they're not as committed, whereas I can follow up and do that. And I'm going to give you guys the tools if you want to do the same to build that as part of your business, great. If you want to work with me on it, great. Either one's fine. I don't really care. What I care is that you give great service to your customers so that you can make more money. Okay, number 4. This market's kept quiet. Now, it's interesting that I've personally talked to 3 or 4, well, in person 3, on the phone another 2, and I've sent email to another 7 to try to engage with them, and at various times for various things. And like, Gio, you're a real estate agent, correct? Yeah. And I see,
yes, Bill.
Where do you do business again?
San Diego.
San Diego. And I say, Courtney and Vince, I don't know if I've met you guys. I'm a real estate agent. I talk to people all the time. Like, my business is getting people to open up. I'm pretty good at figuring people out when I reach out to them. And what I found is that this is a unique industry in that they just don't want to be connected. You would think if I said, hey, I'm Bill Gross, I do a probate weekly call with 100 realtors a week. I get another couple hundred views on social media, love to promote your business. You think well, I can tell you, most attorneys jump at that. Most vendors jump at that. I have people call me, ask me to be on that call. But the probate advance people aren't interested in talking about their business. And I think that there's a couple of things that happen. One is, I think that some level they're concerned about regulation. There was a professor of law at UC Davis who wrote a series of articles very critical of the industry. I think, like a lot of outsiders, they can focus on the negative, and it is true that there are many people who are taken advantage of it. They're like payday loans. People get addicted, they advance the money, they misspend it, they squander their inheritance. But the truth is, they probably would squander it anyhow if it wasn't advanced to them. But I also can say there's an equal number in my experience of people whose lives are changed for the good because they got an advance, they got the right attorney, they kept the property out of foreclosure, they sold it at full retail price instead of at a wholesale price. And the difference can be life-changing. And so, but anyhow, this attorney has written a series of law review articles. I actually have him, I reached out to him via email. I'm going to be interviewing him later this week. And I'm not knocking him. I think when you sit from the outside, and to be fair, he kind of gave some positives and some negatives as well. So he wasn't all negative or maybe in unfair in a sense. But I think that any industry is scared of too much attention. His position is their margins are really fat. It sounds like if you're lending $10,000, getting $20,000, it sounds like you're making a fortune. Well, the truth is, to get that $10,000 profit or gross profit, they have to file legal forms with the court. They have to monitor court cases. They need high quality people watching these files. It's not like collecting on a credit card. So I think that like any business, it's competitive. Anybody can get into it. There's no barrier of entry. So, but they're all very hesitant, I think, to get too much attention, scared maybe there'll be regulators that come down on them. I think second of all, the nature of all people is we're all kind of busy, and we're all kind of focused on the way we do business and aren't open maybe to doing business a new way. And I always felt like these probate advance businesses are operating in the shadows and the cracks. And maybe they do in some cases take advantage of customers and they're okay with that. But the solution is to help more people positively, not to avoid being caught doing anything negative. But it's kept very quiet. And so it's not simple to find them. You would think it'd be more public. You think they'd sponsor things. You think they would be in print. But they really want to work directly with the consumers for the most part. So that's why you'll find out a lot of information. And I find they're very reticent to explain things to you. So next, I want to say that there are 4 different modules that you can work on, 4 different paths you can go down. And I'm actually launching a mastermind with 4 different modules, 4 different how to use this tool in different populations. And the 4 populations are realtor, investor wholesaler, attorney, and personal representatives, or heirs. And what I want to say is that each of those 4 is the same tool, but how you would use it if you're one of those 4 people is different. How you would approach is different. How you can use it to get success is different. And I also want to say by learning all 4 modules, I want you to learn both the by and for, meaning if you're a realtor, I'm going to teach you the module. I'll give you a quick overview, how you can use it yourself to build your business. And then additionally, I think you should be teaching your investors, attorneys, and personal reps how they can use it to achieve their goals, which ultimately results in more business for you. So it's both about learning how you should use it, but I also think it's about learning how to use it well enough to teach your customers or your prospects to use it to generate more business. And I think if you do that, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, instead of equaling 4, can equal 10. Because when you get other people on the same page with you, working together, that's where the real magic happens in all businesses. So I call that the by and for of this, meaning you want to learn how to do it for your business and how you want to learn how to do it as or by an attorney or an investor wholesaler or a personal representative if you're a real estate agent. Okay, before I get into specific modules, kind of overview them, any questions? And I should also say, this is an overview. We're going to do this weekly. I'm fine to answer questions at the end and make it participative. But my goal is to create a mastermind of people committed to it. The charge for that program is $4.99 for 4 weekly modules, 30 minutes each. And I'll go through the module in detail. We'll talk about how to implement it. We'll have a private Facebook group just for our mastermind group. Only those people will be allowed in the program. I set that price because I want people who are serious to work on this with, and I'm going to record material and make it available online at a cheaper price. But those people take it on the live version, we'll get a copy of the online version for free. So that's the goal of what I'm looking to build, and to go really deep and to really master these tools because nobody's even using these at all other than the companies themselves. So that's the plan, and we'll talk about what you get with that. Well, let me just real quick highlight what's involved in that. It's going to be 4 weekly sessions for 30 minutes. It's not coaching, it's installing content, and I'm going to be a consultant and share with you what I do with this material. It'd be no more than 10 people, all recorded, private Facebook group. I'm going to give you a lead intake form that you can use to give to your partners so they can give you a lead and it comes into you. as an email and a spreadsheet so that you can get the data you need from them or post on your social media. I'm going to give you the opportunity, if you want to be an affiliate, to do this, where you can sign up with me as an affiliate, and you get a 5% fee. So on $10,000, you get $500. You can give that to your ISA, your assistant. You can offer it to your attorneys, your vendors. Ultimately, you can do it on your own. The total commission is 10%. And I'll actually walk you through the steps on how to do that on your own if you want to do that. But at least in the beginning, you can be an affiliate and get 5%. I'll give you a sample form so you're familiar with them as part of the program. 100% money back guarantee if you're not happy at the end, and you're on all 4 calls. Just send me an email that you weren't satisfied, and I'll refund your money. And then lastly, I'll give you a list of all the vendors in the business I'm aware of, 25 of them. And then again, this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is how to implement and get work. And we'll show you what I've actually done. I do about 4 of these a year. So I made about $3,000 last year doing this. It's not just my goal to make a lot more doing this. It's my goal to do a lot more of these to generate more listings. That's my focus. You can do it any way you want. You can actually give this to an investor wholesaler in your area, the data, and then call the same leads that you're cold calling for listings, then call them for probate advances. And obviously, if they get somebody connected, that same person may or may not need their real estate sold. So the idea is to try to chop the tree from 2 sides and get a partner to help you rather than do all the heavy lifting on your own. Okay, so before I get, that was the overview and where I'm going with this program, but I'm not charging you guys anything for this. This is free. I'm going to give a kind of a couple minute overview on the 4 modules, but this was the overview portion. Any questions so far?
Bill, question.
Yep.
I know it's based on where we're at, but what is the typical amount that these individuals are basically letting go of?
Yeah. So the most tip, and there's some the papers, the legal research that was done by an attorney. He actually hired researchers and took cases in Sacramento and San Francisco County, not San Francisco County, whatever county San Francisco is in, I forget, and pulled actual case data and ran all those numbers and came up with this analysis, which is the same as I've experienced, which is the minimum is $10,000. And the average is much more than that, $13,000, $17,000. Now what happens is people come up and initially get maybe $10,000 and then come back later and get another $10,000 or $20,000, depending on what the case is. It's very easy once they're pre-approved and the company has a case for them to go back and add more money to the advance. But it also happens sometimes that people find another company and get additional advance. They think they have to. They think they're fooling the company. Or in some cases, the advance company finds out that they don't want to do anymore with that person, and so the customer has to go to another. And in some cases, other advance companies will call the same customer and get them another $10,000 or $20,000. But I think the average is like $13,000 to $17,000 of the advance, minimum $10,000. And they all seem to have like a sliding scale for payback, where most commonly, if you pay back within a year, it's $15,000 or $20,000, and then maybe it caps at $20,000 or $25,000.
Got it.
Good question.
Now, follow up. If say there's multiple heirs involved, 5 or 6, and one finds out about it, have you seen where others will do the same?
Yeah, very common. Very common, because when you file the probate, everybody has to get noticed. So, brother has 8 siblings, and he files the probate. And so whether he does it before or concurrent with, or even years later, everybody in the case gets noticed of anything filed on that case. So all of them get noticed. Hey, Joe took out $10,000. I'd like $10,000. This thing's dragging on forever, right? So it's very common that you'll find the more heirs, very common to find multiple. Now the problem with more heirs is it divides the equity more, right? So if you have a house with $200,000 worth of equity and 8 heirs, now all of a sudden, there's less equity per person. But definitely very common to have multiple heirs select. So as a business, again, I'm not going in the business of probate events. Though I'd love to find somebody in LA County who wants to work with. And I even take an incumbent company. If they say, Bill, we're all in with you, and our leads are your leads, and your leads are our leads. I would love that. Just like my lenders used to work with me when I was a buyer focused agent. just like my escrow and title have been with me as partners. They're not. So if they're not going to do it, I'll just do it on my own, or I'll find partners to do it with me. I'm looking for all the time for investor wholesalers or telemarketers who want to telemarket LA County to help me develop leads. So to answer your question, and so they might call, so to go back to your question, they might call all the heirs. I'm really just interested in getting one and trying to get into the real estate.
Thanks.
Yeah, good question. So any other questions as far as an overview, what the product is, how it's used? I'm going to go into the 4 modules and give a little more color to what this looks like. But before I get into the specific weeds of how to use this, any questions on the product or how it's used? No? Okay. So there's 4 what I call modules, 4 silos of business, 4 categories of people who should be using this product to build their business. And my goal is to work with, I'm the real estate agent and to teach other real estate agents, and then to work with the other 3 silos in my world to help them generate business. So I've been working with some of them and want to work with more. So the first one is Realtor Focused. If you're a real estate agent, how do you use this to generate business? And what I would say is, if you're already calling, and many real estate agents I know who work in probate contact directly petitioners right after they file, they're buying data from all the leads or somebody, then a question you should add into it is, would you need in advance to help with some of the expenses? Now, if they have an attorney, some attorneys require a deposit to cover the fees, which in LA can be, by the time you add it up, $1,000 or more. Some attorneys want that and deposit for attorney's fees, and that could be $10,000 or $5,000 to start. The attorneys don't get paid their attorney's fees until the probate closes. Neither the petitioner or any heirs, or the attorney for that matter, get any distributions in a probate. I'm not giving legal advice, it's just my business experience. They can't get any money until the probate closes. At the very end, when they distribute money then goes to the petitioner and heirs and the attorneys. Fees, though, can be paid reimbursements right away. And so sometimes people have laid out, they didn't realize it was $347 to file the petition and a couple $100 to publication, and then they had to do services, and all of a sudden they're quickly at $1,000 or more. And so they might want some money back right away. So the real estate agents will call and will offer that money right up front as a way to help and as a way to show their expertise. And so the idea is to add value to your talking to these petitioners and to distinguish yourself from the other 30 or 40 realtors who've called them for the business. So there's a number of different tools, the way a realtor can use this, but that's the obvious concept is our engaging with petitioners and are engaging with people who refer us business to offer this a tool to help get through the business. In some cases, it's to help them get an attorney. They may be pro se or pro per doing on their own because they can't afford the attorney's fees, and here you can advance them money and get them the right attorney. It also could be an heir. It could be an heir who's not happy with their sibling being the petitioner or executor or administrator, and they might want somebody for an attorney to pay to check up on them. I've done those as well. Those are great pieces of business because now you have an attorney is not as good as a probate lead. You may or may not get the real estate, but now you've brought business to an attorney that way. So obviously as a realtor, working with attorneys, working with investors, and working with petitioners, bringing them money would be a powerful opportunity. The second group would be investor wholesalers. And I get investor wholesalers who call me with a probate problem. And now an investor by their nature is investing money and often willing to put up the money themselves. Sometimes not. And a wholesaler typically doesn't have money to invest or that's not their primary business. And so using the advance will pull some cash to help move things forward, whether it be get the probate filed, get an attorney, or as a compensation to get the petitioner to sign a contract on the property. So I've seen cases where they'll say, you'll get $10,000 now, and then we'll give you $10,000 a month, and you get the balance when we close escrow. And then they'll sell the interest of the property to the investor that way. Third is attorneys. Obviously, attorneys oftentimes think that they have to ask for the full fee or discount the fees. So, for example, on $1 million property, maybe there's a $7,000 loan. The statutory maximum is $23,000. Attorneys might feel like, well, I can't ask for that because, people are price sensitive, and people are when they have to write a check. They're less price sensitive when it's not coming out of their pocket. And so you can say, I can do it for the statutory fee, and I can advance you that money, and that will cost you X amount. So maybe out of $20,000, they'll give it $40,000, but they're not writing a check, and they're going to get the equity of the house, and it gets done better by a better attorney than it otherwise would be. So I've done this and used this with, and I'm coaching attorneys all the time on how to use this to reduce price sensitivity and help them get their full fee. Also, some attorneys don't like to do probate, but they get leads coming in. Maybe they're an estate planning attorney. Well, here's a way that you can advance the fees, pay an attorney service to do the heavy lifting, and make money in the middle. So you can charge $10,000, hire a company like easyprobate.com to do the work, and take the money in the middle as an attorney. So showing attorneys how to do that as well. And then the last is personal reps and errors. And obviously, somebody has a house in their probate, and they need money for various things, fixing up the house or legal fees, but also the heirs. And like I said, oftentimes there's been heirs. I had one case where the heir, the sibling was trying to steal the property, didn't notice on purpose his sister, because his goal was to rip her off and take all the property. And so and she was basically, poor. She didn't have $500 to her name, but I got her money, got her an attorney. The attorney filed objections, and she got nominated as the petitioner. And then she also got paid as the executor of the estate, money along the way, which is legal, and all the fees were covered. So working with heirs is another way to help expand the kind of pool of business that you work with. So again, those are the 4 modules. And each one, I think, we can go into for about half an hour. And then at the end, I have the tools, I think, that will help you build this into a business. Okay, so I've covered those 4 briefly. Questions on how we might work with any of those 4, whether it be a realtor or attorney or an investor, wholesaler, or to work with petitioners or heirs. No? Is it clear to you how you could work with this? Okay.
So, question with working with investors. So, from what I heard from what you said, they're stuck. There's something that's a roadblock for them. So basically, by involving your expertise in getting money to get past that roadblock, that allows them to move forward with whatever they're going to do. Get their offer accepted, sell and take the property. Now, have you had situations where by you offering this service that you actually get a chance to list it after the investor?
Yeah. So there's two ways that happens. And again, I appreciate the question, and I think you're coming from the right place, Gio. But just to restate, you can get anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. That's Zig Ziglar. So I don't do a lot of work for free for every investor who calls me, but for my investors, people I work with or want to work with, I don't focus on how I get paid on. I focus on creating value for them. But there's 2 ways you'll get paid on that. Number one is in LA County, at least about 1 in 10, the sale will require court confirmation for whatever reason. And it might be most commonly there's objectors, or the executor is not bondable. Now there's ways around that. Sometimes they're a little stubborn, or they don't want to spend the money on the attorney's fees. There's a way that I can get around that. But sometimes customers just get in their head they want to do it the way they want to do it. And so about 1 in 10 real estate sales do need court confirmation. That does require a listing agent to list the property. You can't sell the property with court confirmation in LA County, at least, without it being listed in the multiple listing service. So number one. Number two, the investor has a property, they're going to fix and flip it. And so that's the deal. I'm going to say, look, I'll help you with this, but when it comes time to put it on the market, I'm going to list it. I might do it for a discount if they're a past client, and they're easier to work with in my experience as a listing agent. I'm fine with that. But if I'm helping you, then that's how I get paid at the end of the day. And most investors I work with, somebody's listing the property, usually the person that acquires it for them. Those that do on their own, they might be a broker and do it on their own, but I'm not going to work with those that don't pay me back. And I've had investors cheat me on this. I had one guy who I got him a great deal, and he sent me the pictures along the way, and he fixed it up and flipped it. And he made, of course, this was in the height of the market, a year and a half ago, and he made an extra $100,000 on it, and he was bragging about it. And when I came down to list it, I said, well, why am I not listing it? Oh, I owe this guy a deal. I said, you owe me that deal. This deal you make $100,000 on, I brought this to you. Yeah, but he's done other business with me. So, I didn't say anything to him, but I would never work with him again. Ever, ever, ever. I'm polite. I'm not going to tell you that. In fact, I wouldn't even give him the benefit of explaining to him why I won't work with him, because he doesn't deserve it. He wasted my time, and he's dishonest, and I don't want to work with people who are dishonest. So the answer to your question is, there's no guarantee, but I've gotten enough business where I'm doing this call. I'm encouraging you to do it in San Diego, because I think I don't want to waste your time to see you lose on this. I believe you're a real estate broker in San Diego area. I think you'll list more houses one way or another, and I think you'll be happy as a result.
Got it. Thank you.
Cool. Other questions? And again, this is going to go deep. So I think the purpose of this is not to say this is everything. The purpose is to say, is this a area of study that's worth it for you to go deeper? And as a result, would you be successful, more successful as a agent or investor or whatever your goal is? And if it is, I would say this is an opportunity to do business. So that's kind of the end of the material I have. I'm going to give you guys an offer here. If you sign up in the next hour, I'm going to cut the price in half to $249. Just because I'm looking to work on this with people who can take action. This is not me going into the coaching business. This is me trying to build a business. And so if you're interested in it, I'd like to get this thing going and getting it launched. My tentative lunch time is Thursdays at, sorry, I should have this at my fingertips. Thursdays at, oh my gosh, what time did I pick? Hold on one second. Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. FYI, I do probate weekly at 4 p.m. That's what I did at that time. Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and starting on September 22nd. So if you're interested, I'd be honored to do it with you. And again, I think my goal for this is really, I've spent time and money kind of accumulating the data and the services and putting it together. I'm sure I spent over a couple $1,000s of stuff I'm going to share with you. My goal is, I'm using this as a format to kind of launch a business, and I'm really looking for business partners. And I think if you put a little bit of stake into it, then I'm willing to share that with you. Okay. So before we wrap up, any last questions?
So how do we sign up, Bill?
I put in the chat box a link, and then as soon as we're done with this, I'll send out an email with a recording of the video, as well as a link there. But if you want to hit the chat box, or if you text or email me, I'll send you back the link as well. But that link will be good. It's now 9:12, so that'll be good till 11 o'clock. It's just a simple page, sign up, and then I'll send you a confirmation with all the details. Okay? And again, I'm not going in the coaching business. I was at one time. I didn't like it. I still have the domain Bill Gross Coaching, and I use it for different things. But the reality is, I want to build a national network of real estate agents and probate, some of which work, full transparency, some of which are underneath me, the XP, which is one way to get monetized, some of which we're just working on leads together. That's fine too. And we're supporting our vendors together. We're attacking them together, getting better execution and pricing together, getting marketing support for them together. That's my goal. And so I'd love to help you build your business and doing in a way that will help us all work together. So the long-term strategy of this is not to have this product sell to 1,000 real estate agents. Is to maybe have 51 in each state and one in each county underneath them, using this product to build a business that we all roll up together and are successful with. I got Paul Cook. He's my team leader at XP in the state of Georgia. How you doing, Paul?
I'm well.
Nice to see you again, man.
Yeah, good seeing you too.
Good. Any other questions? If you have any, feel free. So again, that link will be good till 11 a.m. And then I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for sharing
Thanks
this
so much.
with us.
Thanks so
Put
much.
this together. Appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. Bye-bye.